and I thought I was doing all the right things. It wasn't enough.
Things were going great for Matt and Amy, and they were getting along for once, but now everything's come crashing down for Matt and Amy after their huge blowout fight. Guys, you'll never believe what happened with Matt and Amy. So the finale of season 23 of Little People Big World finally dropped, and it was more dramatic than any of us expected. A while ago, Matt listed 16 acres of the family farm for $4 million, and it was pretty shocking. Everyone expected him to sell part of the farm to Jeremy or Zach, but instead, he decided to sell it to a stranger. And in the episode, we finally got to see Amy and Matt fight about it, and Amy was visibly upset at Matt, just like everyone else, and she fully expected him to sell it to the twins, and plus she knew that Zach wasn't happy about what went down between him and Matt, and so she decided to finally let Matt know, what she really thought about all this, and she was confused about how they got to this place, and she told him that it seemed like he went crazy or something, and Amy said that she didn't know the details of the negotiation with the two boys, but that it was clear that the price Matt was asking, was way too high for the kids, and there was no way they could afford that. She then added that Matt basically created a hornet's nest with how he dealt with the sale, and she basically blamed him for all that happened, but Matt wasn't having it. He basically said that it wasn't actually like that, and he claimed that his offer to the kids was totally fair, and Matt said that the offer he gave the kids was really generous, and he basically gave them a half-off deal, but then he added that they shrunk the property size, and apparently the twins didn't like that at all. But Matt said that at the end of the day, he had to think about all the kids, not just Jeremy and Zach, and he wanted to do the fairest thing possible for everyone involved. And what honestly shocked me the most was when Matt said that he was actually glad that it all turned out this way, and he did originally want to sell it to the kids, and that's why he offered them the family discount, but with how the kids reacted and everything, he apparently thought, what happened was probably for the best, and the fit just wasn't quite right for the kids, and that honestly seemed, to come a bit out of nowhere. And for the longest time, it really seemed like all Matt wanted to do was keep the farm and the family, but now it looks like he changed his mind, and he did say that he had some concerns, and that if the kids had gotten it, he would most likely be stuck maintaining it even more so than now. And Matt's clearly been mad about the kids' attitude toward him and the farm, and he said that the kids clearly had expectations that they would be getting the farm basically for free and without doing any work. And then he said that it was this feeling of entitlement that kept ruining everything, that the family's been working on the farm, and Matt just wasn't happy with how the kids handled this at all. And he did seem almost relieved that he didn't have to deal with that anymore, and that those acres of the farm would go to someone else. But Amy had a lot to say about that too, and she said that Matt just didn't want to take the responsibility and ownership of what's been happening, and even though he should, and that what we view as Roloff Farms was no more. And you can see where she was coming from. She sold her part of the farm hoping that the kids would eventually end up getting it for a lower price, but then all this went down, and plus she's clearly been listening to Zach, and he said, that Matt's comments about why he and Jeremy didn't buy some of those acres were misguided and false. So it's pretty obvious why she's so upset at Matt, and they raised the kids to view the farm as their family inheritance, and then Matt decides to sell to a stranger, and during their fight, Matt told Amy that there was still some good news, and that was that there were still 93 acres of the family farm. But Amy didn't like that because she said that there were 93 acres for Matt Roloff, or the family anymore, and it was clear from the episode that Amy had a lot of regrets about everything that happened, and she said that it was really sad that it ended up all this the way it did, and she said that there was just a lot of stress and sadness, and she didn't understand why Matt did what he did. It's like, what happened, and how did they even get to this point? And a couple of months ago, Amy even admitted that there was a part of her that regretted selling her part of the farm to Matt in the first place, and she should have bought Matt out instead, and she really missed the place, and now the situation is even worse, and so it makes sense that Amy is upset because she already had some regrets anyway, and now Matt is just selling to a stranger instead of the kids, and Amy isn't the only one who isn't happy with Matt's decision. Zach was really upset about what went down between him and Matt, and he clearly expected the price to be much lower than it was, and even with the family discount, what Matt wanted was still too much, and we don't really know exactly what went down between Zach and Matt, but it's clear it wasn't pretty, and Zach said that the negotiations just didn't go well at all, and Matt said that Zach didn't even try to negotiate. He apparently just came to demand, and it just seems that everyone other than Matt is really upset about this whole thing. But at the end of the day, it is up to Matt and what he decides to do. So it'll be interesting to see how the family will move on from all this. Hopefully, we'll get to see this all play out in the next season. And Amy talked about the future of the show pretty recently, and she just said that there will most likely be another season of the show. And Amy said that they were currently filming, and that, she assumed that this was for more episodes, but she also admitted that it wasn't up to her. I mean, she doesn't know what the network will decide to do with the footage, but she assumes that at some point we'll get to see what they've been filming, and we don't really know when this new season might air. Amy said that if the season does come out, it might not be until March or April of next year, but she doesn't really know either way. And apparently the family always finds out about this when the announcement is made, just like everyone else. And another thing that Amy said was that there will actually be a pumpkin season this year, even though it might be a bit different this time around. And apparently it won't happen the traditional way, and it won't be near the old farmhouse. And according to Amy, this is because of COVID, and Matt apparently decided to move it all toward his property and his side of it to make it safer and more COVID friendly. And Amy said that she wasn't sure if she was going to, be there every weekend, and she hasn't really made up her mind yet, but she did ask people to email her and let her know what day they were coming, and she'd be happy to say hi, meet people, and get a photo. But since she might not be there all the time, it's important that people let her know when they might be coming. But what do you guys think? Did you catch the finale of the season? Do you think Matt's in the right, or do you agree with Amy? Let me know in the comments below. And guys, like always, do me a huge favor, hit that like, follow, share, subscribe button, and y'all better stay tuned for many more videos.